Shalom. I would like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory that is due unto you, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kwadash. I would also like to give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for passing down this truth. And I would also like to send a sincere salutation out there to the elect brothers out there preaching the word in truth and sincerity. Now, this is just a lesson in the spirit. The spirit hit me. So I'm going to just go through a few scriptures to, bring forth the point. And in this lesson, I want to go into how you have to be humble in this faith. If without humility, you're not going to make it. If you're just like a proud person, you got a very prideful spirit, a boastful spirit, you're not going to make it. You're going to just bug out like we've seen others do and are currently doing, teaching hell, the writings of Apostle Paul, they can't be substantiated, all kind of nonsense. You got Hebrew Israelites, so-called, they call themselves Hebrew Israelites, but they eating pork and telling the congregation it's okay to eat pork. This is it's really just bug out season. Like one of the brothers said, bug out season. But that's because they got pride on them. What their elders taught them, which a lot of these camps stem from, Great Millstone, the elder apostles, Tahar, and even just the One West in general. But what they learned back then, it just wasn't good enough. They had to add their own twists and remix what they already learned. They couldn't just leave well enough alone. But that's because they had that pride on them. They needed something about them to stand out that the other, that the elders didn't teach them, which it doesn't make any sense. It's like Coke, it's a brand name. I stand by it. All right, so I'm going to kick off this lesson with Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. This is Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Lest this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua, who being in the form of the Most High, though it not robbery to be equal with the Most High." You see, that's the problem. People are trying to be equal with the Most High. We're subservient to Yahushua, to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. We're not on his level, but you got people trying to glorify themselves as if they are Yahushua. And that's just a proud spirit to have. It says, "Who being in the form of the Most High, though it not be robbery to be equal with the Most High, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even the death of the cross." You see, even Yahushua humbled himself, to the will of the Most High, his Father. And he was obedient unto death. It says, "Wherefore the Most High also hath highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name." And, for that great sacrifice, the Lord, held him in high esteem. He exalted him. And he's above everything that is below him. That's the order. You got Yahweh, which is the Most High. Then you got the Son, Yahushua, and everything under him. It says, "Wherefore the Most High also hath highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Yahushua every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Yahweh Shai is Lord, to the glory of the Most High, the Father. Now let's go to Luke 14 and 11. It says, "For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted." See, let's go into that word abase. Base, to make low, bring low, to level, reduce to a plane. See, to bring into humble condition, reduce to meaner circumstances. You see, so you're gonna be brought down low. You know the saying, pride goeth before a fall. It also says the same thing in Matthew 23 and 12. It says, "And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted." You see, it's the meek that's going to inherit the earth. Those that are in the right spirit. The elect aren't going to have that proud spirit on them. Now let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6. Let's start at 5. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 5. "Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For the Most High resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time." See, only the humble are going to make it. And when it says in due time, it's talking about in that destruction, Only the ones that's in that right spirit, the spirit of the elect, are going to make it. Now let's go to Romans 12 and 3. "For I say," this is Romans chapter 12, verse 3. "For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as the Most High hath dealt to every man the measure of faith." You see, not to think of yourself more highly than you ought to think. And that's what you see heavy here in Babylon, among the men and the women. You go on the internet, that's all you see is people glorifying themselves, boasting, trying to, they paint a picture, it looks good, but, behind it, what are you really going through, Now let's go to James 4 and 6. There's a real proud spirit on these Babylonians here. It's like everybody just is proud as hell. It says, but this is James chapter 4, verse 6. It says, "But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, the Most High resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble." And that's what we're looking for. Grace. Because, we can't, we go off in the flesh here in Babylon, but, at the end of the day, we're looking for grace. And when Yahweh Shai comes back with the chariots, and when the missiles pelt this place, Lord's will, he finds grace in us. and saves us up out of their coming destruction. Now let's go to Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. This is Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of the Most High, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Yahushua forgave you, so also do ye. See, it's clear as day. Only the humble. That's a characteristic of the elect. Now let's go to Proverbs chapter 11, verse 2. I'll start at the top. It says, a false balance is abomination to the Lord Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. When pride cometh, then cometh shame, but with the lowly is wisdom. See, it's clear as day. So it's all throughout the Bible. That's the proper spirit you have to have, is that humble spirit. You can't be too, don't think of yourself more than you ought to. Because there's a thin line between, pride and confidence. Like, for example, King David, when he's slaying Goliath, he didn't have a proud spirit. He was confident because he knew that the Lord Yahweh was with him. It's not like it was something that he thought he was doing it on his own, of his own might, of his own will. He knew it was the Lord, and he gave all the credit to the Lord. That's the difference. That's the fine line between pride and confidence. Pride is thinking you did it all on your own, of your own will. But confidence is knowing that you have the Lord with you by your side. And if he be with me, who can be against me? Actually, I'm going to go into that. I like reading this. Start the 37th verse. This is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 37. David said, moreover, the Lord Yahweh that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord Yahweh be with thee. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put on an helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail. And that's just, armor. Mail is just, body armor. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go. Essayed means, to just, actually, let's just go into it. Essayed, to go forth, to move on. Essayed, to begin, make a beginning, show willingness, undertake to do, be pleased, be determined, And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. Yeah, he didn't want the armor, because he just wasn't used to it. he didn't get a chance to try it out. He's just not used to wearing that heavy armor and stuff. So he said, I'll just do without it. Some would say that's prideful, but that's not the case. It says, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had even in a scrip, and his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. You see, the Philistine Goliath, that Hamite, he was being proud. He took a look at David and saw he was just a boy, a youth, a kid. So he underestimated him. He thought he had him beat, but that was his pride. It says, and the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with a stave? A stave is like a stick or a rod. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods, his idol. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. See, the Hamite, he was talking shit. He was proud and boastful. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest. So let me read it again. It said, then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. You see, Goliath, he came with a spear, a sword, and a shield. But King David said, I'm coming to you with the power of the Lord Yahweh, the God of the armies of Israel. See, he knew that's all he needed. It says, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord Yahweh deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord Yahweh saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. I'll stop there. But you see, the whole time, David, he gave all the glory to the Lord, and all the glory and credit to the Lord. It's not like he was imposing his own will and his own might, trying to take credit for it, because he knew it was all the Lord. You see, that's the difference between pride and confidence. Now let's go to 1 Peter 5:5. It says, likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Ye, all of you, be subject one to another, and clothed with humility. Oh, I read this one already. Salakia. Let's go to John 13:5. We can end it on this one. It says, Yahushua washes the disciples' feet. And this is going into how, before Yahushua was going to be crucified on the cross. That's the the beginning of it, and we're gonna start at the start at the 5th verse. It says, after that he poureth water into a basin and began to wash the disciples. Actually, let's get it in the NLT. Read it in the NLT. It says John 13:5 in the NLT. It says, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. When Yahushua came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Yahushua replied, you don't understand now what I am doing, but someday you will. No, Peter protested. You will never ever wash my feet. Yahushua replied, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. You see? And like Peter, he looked at it like, you're Yahushua, you're too good to be washing my feet. And that's how he looked at it. But Yahushua said unto him, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. And when he means belong to him, it's like sanctifying him, as part of his elect. It says, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. Simon Peter exclaimed, then wash my hands and head as well, Lord, not just my feet. Yahushua replied, a person who has bathed all over does not need to wash, except for the feet to be entirely clean. And you disciples are clean, but not all of you. For Yahushua knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, not all of you are clean. And that's talking about Judas Iscariot, because Yahushua knew that Judas Iscariot was the one that betrayed him. It says, after washing their feet, he put on his robe. And he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. You see? And that's humility right there. This is the Lord Yahushua. And even he was humble enough to wash his servants' feet. So that goes to show you got to be humble in this thing. You have to have humility, or you just not going to make it. It says, I tell you the truth. Slaves are not greater than their masters, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. You see, in this faith, nobody's greater than anybody. You have, order, you have heads and everything below that, but that's just structure. You need that for everything to function smoothly. Without that, it's just complete chaos. But no one is greater than the mission. There's no one man above the crew. No one man above the group. So I'm going to end it on that. Lord's will, this lesson was edifying. Till the next time, shalom.